The giant space station floated quietly in the darkness around the gas planet Zarian Prime. Inside the station, beings from across the galaxy gathered in a huge circular room. This was the Galactic Council, where the most powerful races in the universe made important decisions. Ambassador Zethkar looked worried as he read the message on his screen. He belonged to the Vorthak Empire, a race of tall, blue-skinned people who had been part of the council for thousands of years. The message he was reading made his stomach feel sick. They cannot be serious, Zethkar whispered to himself. Across the room, Elder Yilmoth noticed his distress. She was one of the oldest beings in the galaxy, belonging to a race called the Ethereals. Her people looked like humans but had silver skin that seemed to glow softly. They had been watching younger races grow and learn for millions of years. "What troubles you, friend?" Elder Yilmoth asked as she floated over to Zethkar. Her people did not need to walk like others. "The Draconian Collective," Zethkar replied, showing her the message. "They plan to invade the third planet in the Sol system." Elder Yilmoth's silver eyes grew wide. "Earth? The human world?" "Yes. Admiral Kexthul believes it will be an easy victory. The humans have no space fleet, no energy weapons, no shields. The Draconians think they can conquer the planet in a few days." Elder Yilmoth was quiet for a long moment. Then she began to shake her head slowly. "This is very bad. The Draconians do not understand what they are about to face." "But the humans are so primitive," Zethkar said. "They still use chemical rockets to reach space. Their weapons shoot metal bullets. How could they possibly fight the Draconian war fleet?" "You do not know humans like we do," Elder Yilmoth replied. "My people have been watching them for many years. They are different from any other race we have ever seen." Meanwhile, far away, on Earth, Jake Morrison sat in his office at NASA headquarters. He used to be a Navy SEAL, fighting in dangerous places around the world. Now he worked for the space program, but he still remembered how to fight. His assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Morrison, Dr. Hamilton needs to see you right away. She says it's urgent." Jake walked quickly to the SETI laboratory where Dr. Lisa
Hamilton worked. SETI was a program that looked for signs of life in space. Lisa was a smart woman who had spent her whole career hoping to find proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Now she wished she had never found that proof. Jake.
"Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to her computer screen. "Our deep space sensors are picking up energy signatures unlike anything we've ever seen." Jake looked at the data. Even though he was not a scientist, he could tell something was very wrong. "How many objects are we talking about?" "At least 300. Maybe more. They're moving together in formation and they're headed straight for us." Jake felt his soldier instincts kick in. "How long before they get here?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. Jake picked up his phone and called General Frank Davis at the Pentagon. "Frank, we need to meet with the president right now." An hour later, Jake and Lisa sat in the White House Situation Room with President William Carter and his top military advisors. Lisa explained what her instruments had detected while Jake translated the military implications. "So you're telling me that an alien fleet is coming to attack Earth?" President Carter said slowly. "That's exactly what we're telling you, sir," Jake replied, "and we have almost no way to defend ourselves." General Davis looked at the data Lisa had brought. "Our most advanced fighter jets would be like paper airplanes against technology like this, and we have maybe a dozen rockets that could reach space-carrying weapons." "What about our nuclear missiles?" the president asked. "Nuclear weapons need to get close to their targets to work," Jake explained. "If these aliens have energy shields, like in science fiction movies, our missiles might not even reach them." Back on the council station, Elder Yilmoth called for an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of alien races gathered to hear what she had to say. "The Draconian Collective has decided to invade Earth," she announced. "I believe this decision will lead to disaster, not just for the humans, but for the Draconians themselves." A representative from the Kralix Federation, a race of insect-like beings, clicked his mandibles in disagreement. "Elder Yilmoth, with respect, the humans are primitive. They have not even learned to travel faster than light. How could they possibly threaten the Draconian war machine?" "Because you do not understand what humans are," Elder Yilmoth replied. They are not like other races. When most species face a superior enemy, they surrender to save lives. Humans do not think this way. She activated a holographic display showing scenes from human history. Look at their wars. See how they fight. When the German Empire seemed unstoppable, humans fought back. When their cities were bombed from the sky, they built more weapons in underground factories. When their enemies had better technology, humans found new ways to fight. The display showed human soldiers in different wars throughout history. They do not surrender. They adapt. They learn. They never, ever give up. Ambassador Zethkar stood up. But surely they will see reason when faced with weapons that can destroy entire cities with one shot. No, Elder Yilmoth said sadly. They will see it as a challenge, and that is what makes them so dangerous. Supreme Commander Vexhol of the Draconian Collective laughed when he received the Council's message warning him not to attack Earth. The Draconians looked like giant lizards that walked on two legs. They had built an empire by conquering weaker races across the galaxy. The Council grows soft, Vexhol told his officers. They want to protect these hairless apes because they feel sorry for primitive races. His tactical officer, a smaller Draconian named Colthex, looked at the reports about human military capability. Commander, perhaps we should study them more carefully. Their history shows they are very aggressive. Aggressive with sticks and stones, Vexhol replied. Our plasma cannons will turn their cities to glass. Our shields will stop their primitive missiles. This will be over in 3 days. But Elder Yilmoth's final words to the Council would prove to be a warning that should have been heeded. The Draconians are about to learn why the universe's most dangerous predator is not the one with the biggest teeth or the strongest claws. It is the one that refuses to stay down when knocked to the ground. The human race was about to show the galaxy what that meant. The Draconian warfleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 300 massive warships spread out in perfect formation, their black hulls gleaming with energy shields. Each ship was the size of a city and carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Supreme Commander Vexhol stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. Through the viewing window he could see the small blue planet that would soon belong to the Draconian Collective. It looked peaceful and defenseless. Open communications to all frequencies on the target world, Vexhol ordered. It is time to demand their surrender. His message was broadcast to every radio, television, and internet connection on Earth. The translation systems built into Draconian technology made his words understandable in every human language. Primitive beings of the third planet, Vexhol's voice boomed across Earth. I am Supreme Commander Vexhol of the Draconian Collective. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be quick. Resist and we will make your species suffer before we destroy you. In the Pentagon, General Frank Davis and his staff listened to the alien message with grim faces. They had spent 2 weeks preparing for this moment, but nothing could really prepare anyone for the first contact with hostile aliens. Sir, we're receiving a response from Admiral Rachel Stone, a communications officer reported. Admiral Stone was the newly appointed commander of the United Earth Defense Fleet. She was a tough woman who had commanded aircraft carriers before being chosen to lead humanity's desperate defense. She sat in the command center of the space station that had been quickly converted into Earth's military headquarters. Put me through to that alien commander, Admiral Stone ordered. Her message was transmitted to the Draconian fleet using the same frequencies they had used to contact Earth. When Supreme Commander Vexhol heard her response, he could not believe what he was hearing. This is Admiral Rachel Stone of the United Earth Defense Fleet, her voice said calmly. I have a message for you, alien. Come and take it. Vexhol stared at his communications officer. Did that primitive just challenge us? Yes, Commander. And sir, we're detecting movement throughout their solar system. It appears they're mobilizing everything they have. Captain Tony Rodriguez commanded a ship called the USS Defiance. It had been built in just 10 days by welding rocket engines onto a converted cargo vessel. The ship was ugly, barely held together, and carried nuclear missiles that had been modified to work in space. Tony and his crew of volunteers knew they were probably going to die. The alien ships were so advanced that human weapons might not even scratch their shields. But Tony remembered something his grandfather had told him about fighting in World War II. Sometimes you have to take the first punch to learn how to hit back. All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez, he spoke into his radio. We're not trying to win this battle. We're trying to learn how these aliens fight so the people who come after us can do better. The first battle happened near Mars. Tony led a squadron of 20 converted civilian ships against 5 draconian warships. The alien vessels were huge and powerful, but they moved slowly and predictably. The draconian commander, Sub-Admiral Thexval, watched the primitive human ships approach. They move like insects, he told his crew. Destroy them quickly. But Tony had studied every war movie and military manual he could find. Instead of attacking in formation like civilized space fleets, the human ships scattered in all directions. Some ships flew straight at the aliens, others attacked from above and below. Several ships deliberately crashed into the draconian shields, learning how the energy barriers worked. What are they doing? Thexval demanded, as his tactical computers struggled to track the chaotic human attack pattern. This is not how space battles are fought. They're not following any known tactical doctrine, his weapons officer replied. Our targeting systems cannot predict their movements. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Hamilton worked frantically at mission control on Earth. She had teamed up with tech billionaire Alex Chen to create something no military planner had ever imagined, a weapon made from space junk. Every piece of debris in Earth orbit is now a potential missile, Alex explained to the military commanders. We've attached small rocket engines to old satellites, dead space stations, even pieces of broken spacecraft. When the Draconians tried to move closer to Earth, they found space filled with thousands of small objects flying at them from every direction. The aliens had shields that could stop large missiles, but their systems were overwhelmed by the sheer number of tiny projectiles. Commander Sarah Brooks was in charge of the human base on the moon. When Draconian landing craft approached Luna base, she gathered her team of Marines and civilian volunteers. Listen up, people, Sarah told her troops. These aliens expect us to surrender when they show us their fancy weapons. They've conquered other races who gave up when things got tough. But we're not other races. The Draconian soldiers who landed on the moon had energy weapons that could cut through steel and personal shields that stopped bullets. They expected to capture the lunar base in minutes. Instead, they found themselves fighting room by room, corridor by corridor, against humans who refused to retreat. When their energy weapons proved superior, the humans used explosives to collapse tunnels. When Draconian shields stopped bullets, Marines used flamethrowers and improvised weapons. Sub-Commander Kextal led the assault on Luna base. After 6 hours of fighting, his forces had captured only half the facility and taken heavy casualties. These humans are insane, he reported to the fleet. They fight like cornered beasts. Even when we kill 10 of them, the rest keep attacking. Back on the council station, Ambassador Zethkar read the battle reports with growing concern. Humans were losing every engagement, but they were also learning and adapting faster than any species the Draconians had ever fought. Elder Yilmoth was right, he said to his aide. The humans are not fighting to win these early battles. They are fighting to understand their enemy. Dr. Hamilton made a crucial discovery while analyzing captured alien technology. Working with physicist Dr. Alan Cross, she found that Draconian shields had a weakness. They operated on specific energy frequencies, and if those frequencies were disrupted, the shields would fail. Every human ship and base needs to know about this. Dr. Hamilton told Alex Chen, "Can you get this information to everyone?" Within hours, the shield frequency data was transmitted to every human military unit on Earth, in space, and on the moon. Communications specialist Lynn Davis had created an encrypted network that the aliens had not yet learned to intercept. Supreme, Commander Vexhol received increasingly troubling reports from his field commanders. The humans were supposed to surrender after seeing Draconian superiority. Instead, they seemed to be getting better at fighting with each battle. Commander, his intelligence officer reported, The human forces are sharing tactical information, faster than our systems can adapt. Every lesson learned by one human unit is immediately available to all their forces. Impossible, Vexhall replied. Primitive species do not have that level of coordination. But Colonel Jeff Martinez proved him wrong. Leading a team of Special Forces soldiers, Jeff launched a direct attack on a Draconian command ship that had landed in Nevada. Using the shield frequency data Dr. Hamilton had discovered, the human commandos penetrated the alien vessel. The Draconian crew could not understand how the primitive humans had gotten through their defenses. By the time they realized what was happening, Jeff's team had planted explosives throughout the ship. "This is for Earth," Jeff said as he triggered the charges. The explosion of the command ship sent shockwaves through the Draconian fleet. For the first time since the invasion began, Supreme Commander Vexhall felt something he had never experienced in centuries of conquest: fear. The humans were not behaving like any enemy he had ever faced. They were learning, adapting, and fighting back with a determination that defied all logic. Worse, they seemed to be getting stronger instead of weaker. Elder Yilmoth's warning echoed in his mind, though he tried to ignore it. Perhaps the Council had been right after all. 3 weeks after the invasion began, humanity was no longer fighting with the same weapons they had started with. Chief Engineer Maria Gonzalez worked in an underground laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, surrounded by pieces of captured Draconian technology. "This is incredible," Maria said to her team. "Their plasma weapons are actually simpler than I thought. The complex part is the power source, but we can work around that." Working alongside weapons designer Kevin Roberts, Maria had spent sleepless nights figuring out how alien energy weapons functioned. Kevin had designed firearms for the military his entire career, but nothing had prepared him for technology that could melt steel with beams of superheated gas. "If we can't copy their power source, we'll make our own," Kevin suggested. "What if we use our nuclear technology to generate the energy these weapons need?" Within days, they had created the first human-built plasma rifle. It was crude and bulky compared to the elegant Draconian weapons, but it worked. More importantly, it could penetrate Draconian personal shields. President William Carter stood in the war room beneath the White House, watching reports from battles around the world. The news was still mostly bad, but there were signs of hope. "Mr. President," General Davis said, "I'm authorizing Project Prometheus. Every factory, every workshop, every manufacturing facility in the country is being converted to military production." Richard Stone owned the largest car manufacturing company in Detroit. When government officials arrived at his factory, he thought they were going to shut him down to save resources for the war effort. Instead, they handed him blueprints for spacecraft. "You want me to build spaceships on an assembly line?" Richard asked. "Modified fighter craft," the government engineer explained. "We need 1,000 of them in the next 2 weeks." Richard looked at the plans. They were basically rocket engines with cockpits and weapons attached. They looked dangerous to fly and impossible to build quickly. "My workers don't know anything about spacecraft," Richard protested. "Then they'll learn," the engineer replied. "The survival of our species depends on it." Across the country, similar scenes were playing out. Danny Kim, who led a group of computer hackers in San Francisco, found himself recruited by military intelligence. His job was to break into alien computer systems. "Their encryption is tough but not impossible," Danny explained to his CIA handler. "The problem is their computers think differently than ours. But I think we're starting to understand their logic." Danny and his team had been working around the clock to penetrate Draconian networks. They discovered that the aliens had very advanced artificial intelligence, but it followed predictable patterns. Human hackers, who were used to dealing with chaotic and unpredictable systems, could sometimes fool the alien computers. Dr. Lisa Hamilton made another breakthrough while studying the wreckage of destroyed Draconian ships. Working with physicist Dr. Alan Cross, she discovered that alien shields were not as invincible as they seemed. "The shields work by creating a barrier of energy around the ship," Dr. Cross explained to the assembled military commanders. "But if we can generate the exact opposite frequency, we can cancel out their shields completely. Like noise canceling, headphones, but for alien force fields," Lisa added. The information was immediately transmitted to every human military unit through Lynn Davis's encrypted communication network. Lynn had become one of the most important people in the war effort, even though most people had never heard of her. "Every message we send is a risk," Lynn explained to her team. "The aliens are trying to break our codes just like we're trying to break theirs. But so far, our system is holding." Supreme Commander Vexhall paced angrily on the bridge of his flagship. The invasion that should have ended in 3 days was now in its 4th week, and the humans were becoming more dangerous every day. "How are they learning so fast?" he demanded. "My tactical officers tell me that human forces are adapting to our weapons faster than our computers can develop new strategies." His intelligence officer, Sub-Commander Yexhol, had disturbing news. "Commander, we've intercepted human communications. They're not just learning from their own battles. Every human unit shares information with every other unit instantly. That's impossible. No species has that level of coordination." "The humans do, sir. When one of their soldiers learns how to defeat our shields, every human soldier knows within hours. When their engineers discover a weakness in our ships, every human engineer begins exploiting that weakness immediately." Colonel Jeff Martinez had survived his attack on the Draconian command ship and was now leading increasingly bold operations against alien forces. His latest mission was to capture a Draconian officer alive for interrogation. Working with Captain Amy Foster, who had become one of humanity's best pilots, Jeff's team infiltrated a Draconian supply base in Australia. The aliens had grown overconfident, not expecting humans to attack so far from their main population centers. "Remember, we need one of them alive," Jeff whispered to his team as they approached the alien facility. "Our scientists need to understand how they think." The assault was quick and brutal. Using plasma weapons they had reverse-engineered and tactics the aliens had never encountered, the human Special Forces team overwhelmed the Draconian guards. They captured Sub-Commander Colthex, who had been overseeing supply operations. Under interrogation, Colthex revealed something that shocked human intelligence officers. The Draconian collective was not just invading Earth for resources or territory. They were trying to capture humans to study them. "Your species is unlike anything we have encountered," Colthex admitted. "Most races surrender when faced with superior technology. You do not. Most races fight in predictable patterns. You do not. The collective wants to understand what makes you so dangerous." Meanwhile, Captain Amy Foster was preparing for humanity's most ambitious operation yet. Working with engineer Beth Wilson, she had helped convert captured Draconian ships into hybrid vessels that combined alien technology with human innovation. "It's not pretty, but it works," Beth explained, as she showed Amy the modifications. "We've figured out how to make their engines work with our control systems. The ship is half alien technology and half human engineering." Amy's new command was called the Terra Nova. It looked like no ship ever built, with human-made weapons bolted onto an alien hull. The crew was a mix of former airline pilots, Navy officers, and civilian volunteers who had learned to operate alien technology through trial and error. Tom Bradley had been flying passenger jets before the invasion. Now he was a fighter pilot in space, leading attacks against alien warships. His squadron of converted civilian craft had become surprisingly effective. "The aliens fight like they're following a textbook," Tom explained to new recruits. "They do everything by the book, which makes them predictable. We fight like humans, which means we're completely unpredictable." Carl Hayes had been a Marine sniper before the war. Now he operated the weapon systems on human spacecraft, using skills he had learned shooting at targets thousands of yards away. "Distance shooting and space combat aren't that different," Carl told his crew. "You have to calculate trajectory, account for movement, and hit targets you can barely see. The only difference is the targets shoot back with energy weapons. Do you know?" The Galactic Council Station, emergency sessions were being held every day. Ambassador Zethkar presented increasingly alarming reports about the war on Earth. "The Draconian advance has not just stopped," he reported to the Council. "The humans are beginning to push them back." Elder Yilmoth was not surprised, but she was concerned about what would happen next. The Draconians made a terrible mistake. They taught the humans how to fight in space. Now humanity is no longer defending just their own planet. She was right. Admiral Rachel Stone had authorized the construction of Earth's first offensive space fleet. Using captured alien technology and human manufacturing capability, shipyards around the world were building vessels designed not for defense but for attack. The aliens came here to conquer us, Admiral Stone told President Carter. But they've given us something we've never had before, the technology to reach other worlds. And if they think we're dangerous when we're defending our home, they're about to learn what we're like when we go on the offensive. Supreme Commander Vexhol received the news that human forces had captured one of his bases and were now building their own starships. For the first time in his long military career, he began to wonder if the Draconian Collective had made a mistake they could not undo. The hunters were becoming the hunted, and the galaxy was about to learn why the Council had tried to warn them. 6 months after the invasion began, Supreme Commander Vexhol stood on his bridge watching something he had never thought possible: human warships attacking his fleet. The primitive species that was supposed to surrender in days had not only survived, but was now fighting back in space with ships built from captured Draconian technology. "Commander, we're receiving reports from across the fleet," his communications officer said nervously. "The humans are using our own weapons against us, but they're using them in ways our tactical computers cannot predict." Captain Amy Foster commanded the Terra Nova as it led a squadron of hybrid human-alien vessels against a Draconian supply convoy. Her crew had learned to operate alien technology through months of desperate experimentation. "Tom, take us in close," Amy ordered her pilot. "Beth, I need maximum power to weapons." Tom Bradley, the former airline pilot, had become one of humanity's best space combat pilots. He flew the Terra Nova like it was a fighter jet instead of a massive warship, making sudden turns and unpredictable maneuvers that confused Draconian targeting systems. Engineer Beth Wilson had performed what many thought was impossible. She had made alien and human technology work together. The Terra Nova's engines were Draconian, but its weapons were a mix of human and alien systems that created combinations the original designers had never imagined. "Power at maximum," Beth reported. "But I'm not sure how long these jury-rigged systems will hold together." "They just need to hold together long enough to win this battle," Amy replied. The human attack pattern was unlike anything the Draconians had encountered. Instead of the organized, predictable assaults they were used to fighting, the humans attacked from multiple directions simultaneously, with each ship doing something different. Carl Hayes, who had been a Marine sniper, now operated the Terra Nova's weapon systems. He had learned to fire alien energy weapons with the same precision he once used with rifles. "Target the engines first," Carl told his gunner crew. "If we can't destroy them, we can at least stop them from running away." The Draconian convoy commander, Sub-Admiral Raxthol, watched in horror as his advanced warships were systematically destroyed by vessels that looked like they had been built in a scrapyard. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their ships are inferior. Their technology is primitive. Their tactics are completely unpredictable," his tactical officer replied. "Our computers cannot calculate their next move because they do not follow any logical pattern." But there was a logic to human tactics. It just was not the kind of logic that alien military computers could understand. Humans had learned warfare through thousands of years of fighting each other, and they had developed strategies based on creativity, adaptation, and the willingness to try desperate measures when conventional approaches failed. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Hamilton's team had achieved another breakthrough. Working with intelligence officer Lisa Parker, they had learned enough of the Draconian language to intercept and understand alien military communications. "They're panicking," Lisa Parker reported to military commanders. "We're reading desperate messages from Draconian ground forces requesting permission to retreat." The humans had turned every major city into a fortress. Instead of trying to hold territory, they had made urban areas into death traps for alien occupation forces. Every building was a potential sniper position, every street could be turned into a kill zone, and every citizen was potentially a combatant. General Frank Davis reviewed the reports from around the world. "The Draconians expected to capture our cities and use them as bases. Instead, they've gotten trapped in urban warfare against an entire population that refuses to surrender. Meanwhile, a remarkable event was taking place at the Galactic Council Station. A human spacecraft had arrived carrying Earth's first diplomatic representative to the galactic community, Ambassador Jake Morrison, the former Navy SEAL who had become NASA's administrator, stepped out of a captured Draconian vessel that had been modified with human technology. The sight of a human arriving at the Council Station in an alien warship sent shockwaves through the galactic diplomatic community. "I am Ambassador Jake Morrison, representing the United Earth government," he announced to the assembled alien diplomats. "I'm here to discuss terms for ending this war." Elder Yilmoth greeted the human ambassador with a mixture of respect and concern. "Ambassador Morrison, the Council is honored by your presence. But I must ask, what are your government's terms?" "Simple," Jake replied. "Complete withdrawal of all draconian forces from our solar system, recognition of Earth as a sovereign world, and reparations for the damage done to our planet." The draconian representative, Ambassador Kolvex, laughed contemptuously. "Your species is losing this war. You are in no position to make demands." Jake smiled calmly. "Are we losing? Because our latest intelligence suggests that human forces have begun attacking draconian colonies outside our solar system." The council chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Ambassador Zethkar immediately requested confirmation from his intelligence network. Jake was telling the truth. Admiral Rachel Stone had authorized humanity's first interstellar military operation. A fleet of human ships, led by vessels captured and converted from draconian technology, had begun attacking alien supply lines and outer colonies. The flagship of this fleet was a massive vessel that humans had named the Freedom. It had been built using the hull of a captured draconian battleship, but every system inside had been modified or replaced with human technology. Commander Danny Kim, who had started the war as a computer hacker, now led electronic warfare operations from the Freedom. His team had learned to disrupt draconian communications and computer systems across entire star systems. "We're not just jamming their communications," Danny explained to Admiral Stone. "We're feeding false information into their networks. Their commanders don't know what's really happening because they can't trust their own computers." The psychological impact on draconian forces was devastating. They were used to fighting enemies who used similar technology and followed predictable patterns. Humans did neither. Dr. Alan Cross had made another crucial discovery while studying captured alien equipment. Their artificial intelligence systems are very advanced, but they have a fundamental limitation, he explained to military planners. They can only process information in ways their programmers anticipated. Human behavior is so chaotic and unpredictable that their computers literally cannot understand what we're going to do next. This insight led to a new type of warfare that humans called chaos tactics. Instead of following military doctrine, human forces deliberately acted in random, unpredictable ways that overwhelmed alien computer systems. Captain Maria Gonzalez, who had started the war as an engineer, now commanded a squadron of attack ships built entirely from salvaged alien parts. Her vessels looked like flying junkyards, but they were incredibly effective because no computer could predict how they would behave in combat. "The aliens build everything to exact specifications," Maria explained to her crew. "Every ship is identical. Every tactic is programmed. Every response is calculated. They can't understand how to fight an enemy that makes up new rules for every battle." The most shocking development came when human forces liberated their first alien world. The planet Kellox had been conquered by the Draconians 50 years earlier. Its native population, a peaceful race called the Kalari, had been enslaved to work in mining operations. When human ships arrived in the Kellox system, they found something unexpected. The enslaved aliens welcomed them as liberators. "We heard about the humans who refused to surrender to the Draconians," said Elder Kelamoth of the Kalari people. "We hoped someone would come to free us, but we never imagined it would be the species the Draconians tried to conquer." Commander Jeff Martinez led the ground operations to free the Kalari slaves. Working with local resistance fighters, his forces quickly overwhelmed the Draconian occupation troops. This changes everything, Jeff reported to Earth. We're not just fighting for our own planet anymore. We're liberating worlds that have been enslaved by the Draconians for decades. The news that humans had begun freeing enslaved alien species spread throughout the galaxy. On the council station, Elder Yilmoth addressed an emergency session. What began as an invasion of Earth has become something unprecedented, she told the assembled representatives. The humans are not just defending themselves. They are actively dismantling the Draconian Empire and freeing enslaved worlds. Supreme Commander Vexhol faced a reality he had never imagined. His empire was collapsing. Human forces were advancing deeper into Draconian space, liberating enslaved species and turning them against their former masters. We must request terms, his second-in-command suggested. The humans have proven they cannot be conquered. Never, Vexhol replied. We are the Draconian Collective. We do not surrender to primitives. But even as he spoke those words, Vexhol knew that the galaxy had changed forever. The humans had done more than survive an invasion. They had become a force that threatened the very foundations of the galactic order. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most urgent meeting in the organization's 1,000-year history. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to discuss something that had never happened before. A primitive species had not only survived an invasion by one of the galaxy's major powers, but had begun conquering that power's territory. Elder Yilmoth stood at the center of the great circular chamber, her silver skin glowing more brightly than usual. Around her, beings from dozens of different worlds listened in stunned silence as she read the latest reports from the war zone. Human forces have now liberated 47 worlds from Draconian control, she announced. 17 enslaved species have joined what the humans call the Free Worlds Alliance. The Draconian Collective's military has collapsed in 3 entire sectors. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthak Empire shook his head in disbelief. How is this possible? 6 months ago, the humans had never traveled beyond their own moon. Because we underestimated what they were capable of learning, Elder Yilmoth replied. The Draconians gave them advanced technology by attacking them. Then the humans did what humans do best. They improved it. On the bridge of the battleship Freedom, Admiral Rachel Stone watched as her fleet approached the Draconian home system of Vorthan. What had started as Earth's desperate defense had become the largest liberation campaign in galactic history. Admiral, we're receiving surrender offers from 12 Draconian colonies, Communications Officer Lynn Davis reported. They're asking for terms. Standard offer, Admiral Stone replied. Complete disarmament, immediate release of all enslaved populations, and cooperation with war crimes investigations. Commander Danny Kim looked up from his electronic warfare station. Admiral, I'm intercepting communications from the Draconian homeworld. They're in complete panic. Supreme Commander Vexhol has been removed from command. The truth was even worse for the Draconians than the humans knew. Supreme Commander Vexhol had been arrested by his own officers after trying to order the destruction of enslaved worlds to deny them to advancing human forces. The Draconian military leadership realized that their empire was doomed, but they hoped to negotiate some kind of survival. Captain Amy Foster commanded the Terra Nova as it led the first wave of ships into the Vorthan system. Her vessel had become famous throughout the galaxy as a symbol of human ingenuity and determination. Beth, how are our systems holding up? Amy asked her chief engineer. Beth Wilson smiled tiredly. The ship is still more duct tape and hope than proper engineering, but she's gotten us this far. Tom Bradley, piloting the hybrid warship with the skill that had made him legendary, maneuvered between the massive orbital stations surrounding the Draconian capital world. The aliens are broadcasting on all frequencies. It sounds like they want to talk. The surrender message came from Interim Commander Yaxhol, who had taken control of what remained of the Draconian military. Human commanders, this is the Draconian Collective. We formally request terms for ending hostilities. But Admiral Stone's response shocked not just the Draconians, but the entire galaxy. We do not negotiate with slavers. You will surrender unconditionally and immediately begin releasing all enslaved populations, or we will continue this war until your empire no longer exists." On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Jake Morrison addressed the full assembly. For the first time, the former Navy SEAL had become humanity's voice to the galaxy, and his words would reshape galactic politics forever. "Honored representatives," Jake began. "6 months ago, the Draconian Collective attacked my world without provocation. They expected us to surrender like so many other species had before us. Instead, they taught us something we never knew, that there were enslaved peoples throughout the galaxy who needed our help." The chamber was completely silent as Jake continued. "Earth proposes the formation of a new organization, the Free Worlds Alliance. Any species that renounces slavery and conquest will be welcomed. Any species that continues to oppress others will face the combined might of all free peoples." Elder Yilmoth spoke for the entire council when she replied, "Ambassador Morrison, the Galactic Council formally recognizes the Free Worlds Alliance and pledges our support for its goals." The final battle for the Draconian homeworld lasted only 6 hours. Captain Maria Gonzalez led a squadron of ships built entirely from salvaged alien technology against the last Draconian fleet. Her vessels still looked like flying scrap heaps, but they had been upgraded with months of combat experience and human innovation. "The aliens are fighting to protect their homeworld," Maria told her pilots. "But they're also fighting to protect a system built on slavery and conquest. We're fighting to free every enslaved being in this system." Commander Jeff Martinez led the ground assault on the Draconian capital city, working with newly freed alien species who had joined the human cause. His forces quickly overwhelmed the remaining resistance. "This is for every species you enslaved," Jeff said as Draconian officials signed the unconditional surrender. "This is for every world you conquered. And this is for making the mistake of attacking Earth." The liberation of the Draconian home world sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Within weeks, dozens of species were requesting membership in the Free Worlds Alliance. The old system of galactic empires built on conquest and slavery was crumbling. Dr. Lisa Hamilton, who had started the war by detecting alien ships approaching Earth, now led the largest scientific exchange program in galactic history. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together to share knowledge and technology. The Draconians thought they were conquering a primitive world, Lisa explained to a gathering of alien scientists. Instead, they created the catalyst for the greatest transformation in galactic civilization. President William Carter signed the Treaty of Vorthen, which formally established the Free Worlds Alliance as the galaxy's new governing body. The signing ceremony took place on the former Draconian capital world, now renamed Freedom Prime. Today, we celebrate not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a new age, President Carter declared. An age where no species will be enslaved, no world will be conquered, and all peoples will be free to determine their own destiny. The transformation was remarkable. Captain Tony Rodriguez, who had led the first desperate attack against the ITU Draconian fleet, now commanded a space station that served as a training center for new Alliance forces. Former enemies worked together to patrol the galaxy and protect free worlds. Dr. Alan Cross established the Galactic Institute of Technology, where human and alien scientists worked together to develop new innovations. The chaos and unpredictability that had made humans so dangerous in warfare also made them incredibly creative in peacetime. Elder Yilmoth delivered the final address to the old Galactic Council before it was dissolved and replaced by the Free Worlds Alliance. Her words would be remembered throughout galactic history. For 1,000 years, this council maintained peace through the balance of power between competing empires. We told ourselves that slavery and conquest were necessary evils, the price of stability. Then the Draconians attacked a small blue world, and that world showed us a different way. She paused, looking at the human delegation that now occupied seats once held by the Draconian collective. The humans have taught us that true strength comes not from the ability to conquer others, but from the refusal to be conquered. They have shown us that the greatest civilizations are built not on the backs of slaves, but on the cooperation of free peoples. 5 years after the invasion, Earth had become the unofficial capital of the Free Worlds Alliance. Children from dozens of species learned together in schools on every human world, while Alliance ships patrolled the galaxy to ensure that no species would ever again face conquest alone. Admiral Rachel Stone, now Supreme Commander of Alliance Forces, stood on the observation deck of the orbital station above Earth. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from 100 different worlds docked at the massive spaceport. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" asked Jake Morrison, who had been elected as the first president of the Free Worlds Alliance. "When the Draconians first arrived, I thought we were all going to die," Rachel replied. "I never imagined that their invasion would lead to the liberation of half the galaxy." Commander Amy Foster, now in charge of the Alliance's rapid response fleet, joined them at the window. "The Draconians made one crucial mistake," she said. "They assumed that because we were primitive, we were weak. They never understood that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who has nothing left to lose." The final monument to the war was built not on Earth but on Freedom Prime, the former Draconian capital. It was a simple structure made of materials from every world in the Alliance, with a plaque that bore a message in every known language. In memory of all those who suffered under tyranny, and in honor of those who proved that no people, no matter how primitive they may seem, will remain enslaved if they refuse to surrender their freedom. Elder Yilmoth visited the monument on its dedication day. As she read the inscription, she remembered her warning to the Galactic Council. "Let this be a lesson to any who would threaten the innocent."